Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Thursday class with the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Bhavaswaha Tatsavitra Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Astoma Sadgamya Tamsoma Jyotirgamya Mrityurma Amritam Gamya. Om Sena Vavtu Sena Bhunaktu Saviryam Karvavai Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti 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 Om. Last week or last time when we were together, we ended the class with the verse number 5. Okay. Well, I suppose this is a chapter number 5 also. So, yeah. Okay. This Rishi is saying there, the Lord who is the source of the entire creation, who ordains the nature of each thing, who modifies the things created, who endows them with qualities, and he alone presides over this whole world. Okay, because he's trying to take our mind towards this Brahma, God, the truth, the absolute. So today we're going to see the glory of this Brahm Vidya in verse number 6. Brahm Vidya, the knowledge of the truth. Tat Ved Guha Upanishadusu Gudam Tat Brahma Tat Brahma Vedate Brahm Yonim Ye Purvam Deva Rishya Tad Vidute Tanmaya Amrita Ve Babhuva. That means that Ved Guha lies in the Upanishads. Upanishad Sugudam, which are the mystical parts, like a hidden parts of the Vedas. Those are the Upanishad. That means that Brahma, Lord Brahma, Vedate knows Brahm Yonim, which can be known only through the Vedas. Second line, Ye means who, Purvam, ancient, Deva, the deities, Rishyas, the seers. Tat means that, Vidu means new, Te means they. Tanmaya became one, like a one with it. Amrita, immortal. Ve means indeed, Bhubhu, became. So the truth lies hidden in the Upanishads, which are the mystical parts of the Vedas. So the truth lies hidden in the Upanishads, which are the mystical parts of the Vedas. That's what good means, the mystical. Lord Brahma knows that truth, which can be known only through the Vedas. Those ancient deities and seers who knew it indeed became one with it and became immortal. So we all are familiar with these terms, Veda and the Upanishads, because this is what we are studying, Upanishad. So the Vedas are the eternal truths which was discovered by the great seers in their seat of the meditation. And the main theme of the Vedas is the knowledge of Param. how to live a happy and fulfilled life, how to liberate ourselves from the here and hereafter. That's what Vedas talk about. That means how to live over here and how to attain that ultimate goal of human existence. So the knowledge of Dharma is meant to prepare us for the knowledge of Brahma. So that's why sometimes we just loosely translate that Dharma word as a duty. So when we follow our duties in this life, we are calmer about it. When we learn to live in harmony, in peace, wherever we are, we can definitely move forward. So the Upanishad's primary purpose is the knowledge of the Brahman. But this knowledge is so deep, mystical, difficult to understand, especially for an unprepared student. Okay, so that's why the early preparations are very important. So the Upanishads are the valid means for this knowledge. And the word Brahma also means Vedas sometimes. Okay. And yoni over here means the valid means. So the Upanishads are the valid means of knowing the truth. See, every book has its own purpose. So the Vedas' purpose is to give us the knowledge about the Brahman. Ved Vyas says the same thing in Brahma Sutras also. Shastra Yoni Vata, in one of the verses over there. Shastra Yoni Vata. Then the glory of Brahma Vidya. Lord Brahma, the creator, the ancient deities, the great seers like sage Atri, sage Vashishta, they all realized this truth through the Vedas. Becoming one with the truth, they gained immortality. So Ved Mantra, through the Ved Mantra, we know the truth, and the truth is revealed. Anyone who realizes the truth, even in this age, shall become immortal. It's not that we have to come as a human being only in Satyuga. Even in Kali Yuga, this knowledge is the same. And that is the promise the scriptures make. This truth is our own self, and it's available to all. This gives hope to all of us that we can also realize the truth and become liberated. And this knowledge is indeed great because it has stood the test of time. Even today we study it because we see so many branches of knowledge, they have disappeared. So many species, they have become extinct. So many great empires and cultures are in ruins. But the knowledge of the Vedas has remained. Invaders have burnt our books, but they could not destroy the knowledge. Modernization has changed our lifestyle, but still there are seekers of the truth and this knowledge. So the great seers, the rishis, they, or you can call them exalted beings, saints. For them, the top priority is this knowledge. So when we understand how precious it is, we should also strive to know it. This is we get from this verse. And as the Rishi spoke about the nature of the God to the students, he kept emphasizing on the essential oneness of the individual and God. And now we'll see the interesting description of the nature of the individual being. Let's look at that in verse number 7. गुणान्वयाय फल कर्म करता कृतस्य तस्य स एव च उपभोक्ता स विश्वरूपा त्रिगुणा त्रिवर्तमः प्राणाधिपा संचरति स्वकर्मभिः. Gunanvaya, endowed with the qualities. Guns. Ye means who? Phal karam karta, performer of actions leading to results. Kritasya, of the result of the action. Tasya, of that. Sa eva, himself. Cha means and upbhogta, the enjoyer. Sa means he, Vishwarupaha, one who has many forms. Triguna, having the three qualities. Like Satvik, Rajasic, Tamasic. Trivartama has three paths. Pranadhipa, master of the vital force. Sancharatihi, moves. Swakaramabhi, due to his own actions. So endowed with the qualities, he means Jeev over here. Jeev is performer of actions that lead to results, and he himself becomes the enjoyer of their results. He has many forms, has three qualities and three paths, is the master of the vital force, prana, and moves due to his own actions. So very first thing he is saying, Gunanvaya, the individual endowed with the three qualities. These guns over here also means vasanas. Vasanas. And it also means ropes. We are tied by the ropes of our vasanas. Or you can call it inherent tendencies formed through our past actions. For example, an angry person, through frequent anger, has mastered getting angry and compulsively, helplessly get angry at the slightest provocation. That's an anger vasana. So driven by our vasanas, we feel that whatever we do is important and right. Because talking about the angry person thinks that the other person deserves to be shouted at or abused. Or sometimes we hear that a person says, no, I need to teach a lesson. If not me, by who else? So vasanas take the lead and a person becomes a faithful follower of the vasanas. It's almost like a drinking vasana also, smoking vasana also. We just reach to those objects without even thinking about it because vasanas are so powerful. And vasanas are not all bad. There are positive vasanas also. When we are drawn towards selfless service, when we are drawn towards these scriptures, when we are drawn towards the masters, those are positive vasanas. So the individual performs actions for results. Phal karam karta. Before we really reach to that karam sannyas yogi, we all do actions because of certain fruits. So we perform actions which give rise to results of joy. We want joy, but we get sorrow also sometimes. But we always do actions for desired results. That's what phal karma karta means. So most of our actions are prompted by selfish motives, and which is a very sure way of getting bound by the results, by success or by failure. So this is phal karma karta. Then kritasya tasya eva sa cha upbhogta. The doer becomes the enjoyer. Because we do not remember all our past actions. And we are not able to connect them with the results that we get in the present. Because life did not start only a few decades ago. So we are receiving results. Good, bad, or indifferent. Ishtam word is used for the desired, Anishtam for the undesired, and Mishram for the mixed. But it's all based upon what we have done. Karta alone becomes the bhogta. A wise person thinks about it whenever the result comes. Kritam smara. I must have done something. Take the responsibility. Or as they say, accountability. Wise person does that. It cannot happen that I get the good or bad results of someone else's actions, or someone else enjoys the fruit of my hard work. The fruits, they get enjoyed right now also, and sometimes in the future also. So good or bad both. A person might get into an accident, and that person might say that, what have I done to deserve a broken leg? It was not even my fault. Somebody else hit me and my leg is broken. That person came to me and this is the result of it. It's because of somebody else. But a wise person will say that, think that you must have done some good karam. That you have miraculously escaped that. So when we are faced with problems and difficulties, we should not complain. The sins of the past come back to us in the form of diseases and other problems also. Nothing happens accidentally. Purva janam kritam papam vyadhi rupen jayate. We have studied in Tulsidas Ji's Ramayana. There was a Guh, Lord Ram's friend. He was blaming Kaikeyi for the plight of the crown prince of Ayodhya, Shri Ram, who had to sleep on the bed of straws in the jungle. Lakshman said, dear brother, no one is responsible for one's joys or sorrows. We are all enjoying or suffering the results of what we have done. Kahu na ko sukh dukh kar data, nij karta kar bhog sabu rata. If you remember this law of karma, we can go through this life's ups and downs much better. That's what this Rishi is saying. Ritasya tasya sa evcha upabhogata. Then he says, sa vishva rupaha. The individual takes many forms. How many roles we must have played? Not only this lifetime, sure, we have played many roles. Each person is playing many roles every day. Husband or a wife, brother or a sister, mother or a father, and so many more. So many more. So it's interesting to watch a person lord over his employee, and the next moment he becomes meek before his own boss. These are the roles we play. So Vishwarupa, Then he says three gun. The individual is tied by three qualities, three gun. Here gun means the qualities of sattva, rajas and tamas. We are controlled by our moods, which vary with the time and situations. In our own meditation rooms or in front of our altar, very sattvic mood, very easy to become meditative. When we are at a workplace, rajogun, restlessness, catches up. Or more often, the tamogun overwhelms us. So these three guns constantly play in our mind. Sometimes we entertain noble desires, sometimes selfish, sometimes downright bad ones. The three qualities indeed have us well tied. That's why they're called ropes. They have tied us. Three vartamaha. The individual takes three paths to his destination. That means our actions lead us to a different destination or results. We may follow the path of karma, action. We may follow the path of devotion, the bhakti, or we can follow the path of knowledge, gyan. These are the three paths. But goal is the same. Three paths can also mean the two nobler paths of Uttarayan or Devayan, which leads to Brahmlok, and Dakshayan or Pitrayan, which leads to the world of ancestors. We have learned about these in Bhagavad Gita. And the third path is the lower path, which takes us to the mortal existence on earth or even lower realms. So three paths. So what this means is that our future destination is decided by our own actions in the present. We have that kind of a power. Then pranadhipa, the individual controls his prans. This is explained beautifully also in the Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna. When he says, Shariram yad apnoti yad cha api utkramati ishvaraha grihitva etahani sanyati vayu gandhan iv sanyat. So verse number 8 in chapter number 15. Taking charge of his subtle body, the individual leaves the gross body like a fragrance carried away by breeze and moves to yet another body. Okay? So prana. We have moved from womb to womb, taking different forms, which was all determined by our own actions. Our own actions. Next two mantras discuss the size of the individuality that dwells in this body. Sometimes you wonder, how big is the Atma? Where is the Atma? If that's what I am. Because body, we know that body was a small body when we were born. Or there was no body, but we were still there. And after this body withers away, it gets burnt or buried, we'll still be there. Who are we? Angusht matraha ravi tulya rupaha sankalap ahankar samanvitahaya buddhe gunen atma gunen cha ev aragra matraha hi apraha api. Angusht matraha, the size of a thumb. Angusht matra. Ravi tulyaha rupaha, bright like the sun. Sankalap ahankar. Sankalap is the wishful thinking. Ahankar is the individuality. Samanvitaha, associated with. So associated with wishful thinking and individuality. Ya means who? Buddhe, of the intellect. Gunen, with the qualities. Atam Gunen, with the qualities of the mind and the body. Cha means and, ev means even. Ar agra, matraha, like the tip of a gourd. He means even. Apara, different. Api, as if. Drishtaha, seen. Of the size of a thumb. Bright like the sun. Associated with wishful thinking and individuality, and also with the qualities of the intellect, the mind and the body, the jeev is seen as if different, like the tip of a gourd. We can do both 8 and 9 together. Let me go through the 9 also. Balaha gra shat bhagasya shatadaha kalpitasya cha bhagaha jiva sa vigyeya sacha nantyaye kalpate. Bal agar shat bhagasya, of the size of the tip of a hair. Bal means hair. So of the size of the tip of a hair, divided into 100 parts. Shat bhagasya, bhag means part, shat means 100. So if you divide the front of the hair into 100 parts, shatda, 100 times. So 100th part, again divide into 100. Kalpitasya, imagined. Cha means and. Bhagaha, of the size. Jivaha, the individual being. Sa means he. Vigyeya, to be known. Sa means he. Cha means and. Anantyaya, for infinity. Ananta. Kalpate, fit or capable. The jeev, the size of the tip of a hair, imagined to be divided into 100th of its 100th part, is capable of infinity and is to be known. So the individual, first in the verse number 8, he said the size of a thumb. Earlier it was said that it is seated in the heart space, size of a thumb. Nature of the pure consciousness illumines the mind and the senses. And now it is said that the individual being is also of the size of the thumb, and it is self-shining, like the sun. How can two entities of the same size occupy the same space simultaneously? It really means that they are essentially one, and one is only superimposed on the other. So then there's no difference between them. It's the same thing. Finite individual. See, God is infinite, but the individual becomes finite. Why? Because of its association with Sankalp and Ahankar. See, Sankalp, Ahankar, Samanvita. When we have these two, then we separate ourselves from that infinite and we think we are finite. Sankalp really means, this term came in Bhagavad Gita also. Sankalp means fanciful thinking, wishful thinking. Wishful thinking, like sometimes we wonder how nice would it be if I was there, or if I have that person with me. Or when we start thinking that, oh, movie was great, how happy it made me. That's a sankalp. So the individual sometimes imagines things which are not even there. From sankalpa arise desires, which makes us perform actions. Without desires, there won't be any actions. And ahankar comes into play when I own every sankalpa, desire or memory. For example, when we say, I wish, I want, or even I remember, the ahankar identifies with the finite body, with the mind, with the senses. That's how individuality arises. Ahankar. It expresses itself like superiority or sometimes inferiority also. Those are like a complexes. I am the greatest, I am the best, I am good for nothing. These are the words we use. So identified with the body, the individual says, I am tall, I am short, or I am fat, dark, or even a male and a female. Those are all qualities of the finite. And then he says about this individuality is also associated with the intellect. Intellect says, I understand, or I don't understand. I am agitated, or I am peaceful. Those are all part of the intellect. Then he says the size of a tip of a gourd, or agramatra. In ancient times, the cattle and the horses were kept in control with a stick which had a sharpened end. And there was always a fixed metal on it too. That was called agar. This gourd was used to prod the cow or horse. So the God residing within all of us is all pervading, infinite. Now, due to this false identification, ahankara, to us that God seems very small, finite being, size of the gourd, or a top of the needle tip. It's all because of that ahankara. The size of 1,000th fraction of a hair tip. If you can imagine a tip of the hair and split it into 100 parts, and 1/100th of its size is imagined to be the size of the individual. So divide it into 100 and further divide it into 100. Rishi was not satisfied with the tip of the gourd. That's why he further emphasized that size 1,000th fraction of the hair tip. Because he wants our attention to be towards this. That we have reduced the infinite to a dot of thing. It's like an infinite, that's who we are. But we just feel so small. So the individuality is a subtle and tricky entity, difficult to catch, very hard to pinpoint. It's purely a notional, actually, an appearance of a thought. It defies any perception, no matter how beautifully we can analyze it. Because it keeps on changing also. Whatever we think we are, our personality, in a fraction of a second, we just change our mind. We have seen that. From bad to sad to glad to mad. And we identify with that. Even though we are not that, but we superimpose ourselves on the real. And we think we are that. It's almost like a wave. Looking at the wave, can we say that that's the ocean? Even though it's a part of the ocean, or a bubble in the ocean compared to the complete ocean. So individual is like a wave rising, falling. It's a tiny entity, but it definitely gives trouble to everyone. Then he says the infinite possibility. However, being essentially infinite, it can be giving up its finitude and realize it needs to realize its infinite self. So the size of the individual is initially said to be the size of a thumb, so that our mind can at least comprehend something. And later the tip of the needle, and finally the 1,000th part of a hair tip. So he's not changing his mind, he's just trying to draw our attention towards who we are really. Because through the mind, we got to use our mind, we got to learn how to conceive Atma, our essence, the truth, because mind is the only instrument which we have. So that's why he is giving all these examples for our mind to comprehend or move towards the realization of the self. Now the question comes, what is the gender of the individuality? The gender. Na ev istri, na puman esha, na cha ev ayam, na pasunkah, yat shariram adate, ten sa rakshate. Na means not, ev means surely. Istri, woman. Na puman, not man. Esha, this. Na means not, cha and, ev surely, I am this, napulsanka, eunuch. Yat, whichever. Shariram, body. Adate, takes up. Ten, by those. That means by those very bodies. Sa means it, rakshate, protected. This jeev is surely not a woman, not a man, and not even a eunuch. Whichever body it takes up, it is protected by those very bodies. In the earlier mantra, the Rishi said, I think that was a mantra number 3 in chapter number 4, that God is a man, a woman, boy, and girl. In fact, he's all beings, plant, animal, and human. He said that. But in this mantra, he's saying that God, even as an individual, is neither a man, nor a woman, nor a eunuch. So from the standpoint of God, remember, he is only existence. Consciousness, bliss, unconditioned by anybody. This is, you got to understand. So earlier when he was saying that he's a man and a woman and everything, that means he was saying that consciousness is in everybody. You cannot say that it's only in the saints and the sages and in the male form of the body. So he was saying that I'm everywhere. So now he's telling us that there's no gender to it. Okay? Because sometimes we say God, man. No. So na evisri na puman esha na cha ev ayam na punsaka. So from the standpoint of the world, he manifests as all forms, man, woman, or child, but not the individual, a man or a woman. Just remember that. So the individual becomes what it identifies with. So by itself, the individuality has no form. It takes on the form of what it owns. I am has no form. Okay, remember that. There's no form. It becomes I am a man when it owns a man's body. Or in a female body, I am a woman. The individuality is indeed strange. It does not mind identifying with anybody. In one life, it becomes a dog, and in another, a divine being, and in yet another, a monster also. Those are only the bodies. And we'll see next week how the story of the individuality, you and me, continues. When he says sankalpan supadarshan drishti mohe gras ambu drishtiya cha atma vivridhi janam karam anugani anukramen dehi sthaneshu rupani abhi samprapadyate. So we'll start our next class with verse number 11. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much for coming.